Childhood trauma and the brain. So, did you have a rough childhood? Do you think you did? It matters. And childhood trauma really can affect your brain and affect how you make decisions as an adult. It's a really serious subject. So, we're going to talk a little bit about childhood trauma and how it affects the brain, but also whether or not you may have experienced childhood trauma and what that means. So, childhood trauma, first of all, the brain develops in the womb. We all know that, right, from school. But when a child is born, the brain is really going full force in terms of developing. That's when it really starts to develop all the neurons and the connections. And if a child experiences abuse, physical abuse, abandonment, extreme poverty, loss of an adult figure at a young age, that affects their brain and how their brain functions going forward, and really stunts the growth of a lot of emotions and emotional things that are going on in the brain. Now, you may be wondering, or you may be asking yourself, well, I didn't really go through any of that, the things that I just listed. We didn't have any abuse, but I'm showing some signs and signals of maybe some trauma. And what could be happening, or what could have happened, or what happens a lot of times, is when we're born as newborns, we need that connection with another human. We need to feel attachment. We need to feel cared for. We need to feel loved and secure and safe. And if you didn't experience physical abuse, but you had a parent that was busy with their own things, like maybe they were going through something themselves, maybe there's something big that they're going through, and they didn't spend a lot of time nurturing you, holding you, giving you that neural connection that a newborn and young child needs. And so that does affect your brain. This is almost like food. A young child needs this just like they need food in order for their brains to process and grow properly, and all of the neural connections to grow properly as well. So it's just as important to have attachment and for a child to feel loved, secure, and safe as it is to not have any kind of physical abuse going on in childhood as well. Some things that can affect you as an adult, if you've had childhood trauma, can be making decisions based on what your subconscious, how your subconscious developed during that time when there was some trauma. What will happen is when you, as a child, experienced a trauma event, and it's not the event that happened, it's how you felt about the event, right? So all the stress hormones come up when the event occurs, and that's what signals your body. That's what takes the imprint or the picture. Your brain takes a picture of that. Your nervous system takes a picture of that, and it holds on to it. And so as you grow up into teenage years and into adulthood, when you go to make a decision, your subconscious draws back to the feeling that it had when you were in that trauma event, because that's what it knows. That's what it's been taught. So it really affects decisions and how we feel about our lives, about ourselves as we grow into adulthood. So it's really important to, if you're feeling that you have signs of trauma or childhood trauma, it's really important to get help, find a coach who's been through the same type of thing, or find a program. We have a program here at GILD Coaching that can help. I've been through childhood trauma. My dad passed away when I was 5. He was 28. He drowned with his 2 friends when they went on a fishing trip. So it's those types of things that can affect how we think as we get into adulthood. Now, the good part is that it can be healed, or you can learn tools to be able to get through your adulthood without being triggered or making, you can learn how to make better decisions, you can learn how to communicate effectively and better, instead of just letting your body and brain go back to what it had learned when you experienced that traumatic event, or maybe there was no attachment there. And I think the no attachment is probably a more, we see that a lot more, and it's so subtle. You know, if your parent was working a lot, and just didn't have time for you, or didn't hold you a lot, or nurture you a lot, putting, not that you have to carry the baby around all the time, but that just that adult mother-child bond or father-child bond in the early years really affects brain development and how we make decisions and move forward in our lives as adults. So, what questions do you have? You can type any questions below, or you can email me at kendra@gildcoaching.com if you have questions about this. It's really important to take a look at it, and if you are an adult and you feel like you've gone through some trauma as a child, or I think the interesting part is most people that I speak with have are going through some issues as adults, and when I talk about their childhood, you know what kind of childhood they had, they always say to me, well, it wasn't a bad childhood. But then as we talk, we discover little things that were said, or things that were said to them, or occurrences that happened that were traumatic to them, that affected how they felt, their nervous system, their brains. And it affected them, they remembered it through their whole teenage years and into adulthood. And typically that's the same thing that's affecting their adulthood in terms of them feeling stuck or whatever the issue is. Some people feel stuck, some people feel depressed, or some people feel unhappy even though they have everything that they've ever wanted and worked for. So those, maybe they're making choices, the same choices over and over again, and they're not good choices, and they're wondering why they keep making these same choices. Well, there's a reason why. And typically, if we take a look, we can draw back to some sort of childhood traumatic event, or you took that in as a traumatic event. And that's the thing about trauma, is that someone else could look at what happened to you and say, well, that doesn't seem, that doesn't seem like it would affect you. But it's not how it affects other people, it's how it affects you as a person. It could be something simple or little as your friend moved away, or maybe you lost something that was dear and near to you. Maybe it was a pet that passed away, or maybe you had to move at a young age and go to a new school, things like that. So maybe somebody said something to you that, or compared you to somebody else, a sibling, or that type of thing. So those are some things to look at, and how our brains today as adults were really formed by what happened to us as a child. And it could be something as simple as just not having that loving, feeling safe attachment to a parent at a young age. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have questions, please email me, kendra@gildcoaching.com, or you can comment below. If you like the video and you think someone in your friend tribe, your friends or family could use this information, please pass it along. And also, don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you loved it. And definitely don't forget to subscribe, because we have lots of really good information. We post videos weekly on some great information in terms of trauma and how it affects you and different things like that. So, having said that, I will see you on the next video.